So, hey Mitch, how's it going today?
Not too bad, man. How are you?
Uh, you know, Still living, working,
Oh yeah,
trying to stay
yeah.
active.
Working a lot.
So it is what it is, but I think we're all in the same boat until the gyms open up. So
Oh goodness, like trust me, I can't wait for that one.
yeah, so obviously I know that you're a power lifter,
Yep.
if that's what you would define as yourself.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Okay, okay. So with the COVID kind of going on and everything, have you had a chance to use equipment, or how's that worked out
Um,
for you?
at the moment, I haven't had a chance to use my like a full 7 foot barbell or all my other stuff. My doing a bench press, doing a squat. So at the moment, I've got one of those old 6 inch barbells. Like
Oh, that
it's
sucks.
it is pretty rough, but it lifting as long as you're lifting a weight and doing it consistently, you can still keep some of that muscle mass. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
I think with a lot of people that I've been talking to lately, they're like worried about losing muscle mass. A guy that I actually did a podcast with, he mentioned about he does like like people that do like vlogs stuff on YouTube, and they'll do like their life, and they'll do like
yeah,
whether it's fitness or whatever stuff they're into. He did a vlog about like muscle loss, and a little bit like adding a little bit of like fat to his body, and he just kind of talked about how like that's don't worry if you lose a little bit of muscle. You have that muscle memory, and whatever your goal is, or whatever how you were before the everything that was going on, you're going to gain that all back.
yeah,
So it's
100%.
nice to kind of have someone that kind of say that and know like, okay, I you know how I feel, right?
Literally.
So
I know exactly what he's saying. Yeah, like, well, as long as you're taking what your diet was beforehand and you're adjusting it to what yourself is, you're not just letting yourself go, right?
exactly, right? Like for myself, so obviously like I had a certain diet that I was on, and then what happened was, so I stopped working with my coach because I mean it's kind of hard for him to coach me if
Yeah,
if I'm at home, right?
I got
And
that.
I'm not getting the same workout, so it's I think it'd be hard for him to kind of know what to give me, so I don't think it'd be fair on him. um, but yeah, so I stopped doing that, but I kind of maintained the diet that he kind of had me going on. So I pretty much kind of cut my carbs a little bit. So I just really utilized my carbs like when I would work out, um, and that's pretty much it. And then try to just do veggies and things like that, to
Yeah,
kind of get me through the day. And I don't feel terrible, which is probably a good thing, because knowing that my workouts aren't as good and I'm not moving as much as I normally would.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think I mean, how's it? How are you taking it with the diet?
Well, I mean, at first, it was like no gym at all. I
Yeah,
mean, for me, I work at a pizza place, which is really unfortunate for me. But so have trying to go from that and then trying to mix more protein into what I usually would have,
yeah,
um, with less carbs. Usually, well, when you're sitting at home, you don't need the amount of carbs you would if you're working out 2 times a day, or if you're doing sports, running, playing soccer, doing something like that, right? Yeah,
yeah,
all that carbs you're just using for energy. So it's definitely a big change for everybody. So
yeah, for sure. But I mean, as you know, I was saying before with one guy, maybe a week or two. Because whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Canada, so Dresden, Ontario, which is Chatham, Kent area kind of stuff.
Okay. So yeah, like I mean, you're about in the same area. So like, um, so then basically, like I think I don't know if you heard, but like at least in this area, like the Fit for Less is gonna be opening up in like next weekish,
Oh,
around there,
goodness,
I
I
think.
cannot wait.
Yeah, it's
Cannot wait.
probably next week or the week after. So I'm pretty pumped. It's gonna be busy, but you know what? It's a
Yeah,
gym,
so
and it's actually something where I
that's,
can
that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, I'm moving up to London here for school soon.
Okay.
Going yeah, going up to Fanshawe. So I'm hoping, sorry, all the gyms are opening up. So
Yeah, well, the same guy I was mentioning, the videos that he does, he's actually from London way, and I think he still lives in London. just living with his parents now. Um, but he was mentioning like I think their gyms are opening up sooner than Chatham Ken is. So hopefully maybe you might luck out that way. I don't know what your thoughts are
Yeah.
on that, but um, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. The
I think
gyms here in
they're
Dresden
waiting
are,
too long to open them up. That's
yes.
the problem.
Yes, I agree with that one. Yeah, the gyms here in Dresden, they're supposed to be opening. They were supposed to be opening up mid June, but they absolutely shut that down right away. So they may not even open up till end of this year, maybe even next year.
Oh, really? Why Dresden though? It's such a small town.
I That's exactly what I was saying. Because you would think because people are at home, they're gonna want to do more, but I Dresden's just a whole bunch of old people basically. But
Okay. Well, and then that's it. I mean, I didn't even know Dresden even had a gym though in the first place.
yeah, so it's run by Joe Grin, and she's great, but at the moment I don't know, gym situation's really tight. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, it's just like a privately owned gym or?
No, it's open to public, definitely open to public, but
Oh, I
it's
meant like
it's
sorry. I meant like is it like just like a private owned business? Like is it like they it's not like a chain or anything.
no.
Okay. Um
Yes. So it's owned by that, but then you got the Wallsburg gym, which I'm not too sure when it's opening up.
yeah. It's really hard to say where when everything's gonna open, not open. I mean, if you can get your hair cut now, you should be able to lift some weights. So,
I agree with that one, brother.
but I guess gyms aren't essential apparently.
Yeah,
um,
fast places are you can eat Big Macs all you want, but it's whatever, I guess. Whatever, I
yeah,
guess.
I guess so. So yeah. So what made you decide to start powerlifting?
Honestly, so my cousin Sean Brown, seeing him and what he was beforehand when he was benching his almost 600 pounds, that made me realize like, hey, I can get big, look good, and do what I like to do all at the same time.
Hmm.
And I think benching a whole bunch of weight I just like it. I don't know what it is to it. There's just something about when the adrenaline starts pumping, you just start going. I think it's fun.
Okay. Yeah. So like try and put this in this way. Um, actually, screw that. I'm gonna ask that later. So Sean Brown. I know Sean Brown. Does he live in Chatham?
Wallaceburg at the moment.
Okay. Okay. There could be another Sean Brown. Just Sean Brown. I know. I went to school with him, so it probably isn't the same one. Uh, but yeah, the Sean Brown I know. I went to school with him, so I thought maybe he might, might be the same guy. It probably isn't because I don't really see him being like the gym kind of guy. But then again, I haven't seen the guy for like 5 years, so lots changed. So um, yeah, never mind. Never mind. So like you're like a three-time world record holder and like you're like the
uh,
six-time Canadian record holder. Or what's that?
uh,
Can you elaborate
yeah.
on that?
Recently I just had my competition in Chicago for nationals. That ended up going good. I ended up coming first place in my category, and I was runner up for lifter in teen and junior. I'm not too sure why they put junior in with teens, but anyways, so I did end up doing pretty good. Ended up uh, grabbing what is it here? Sorry. It was 127.5 kilograms, so 281.1 or something like that for my bench press. My first, second, and third attempts for powerlifting, anyways, you get 3 attempts for your 3 lifts. So
Hmm.
it's squat, bench, deadlift for people that don't know. So my bench press, I ended up breaking the world record, 281. Squat would have been a Canadian record, but I'm not too sure if they were counting it at that competition. I'm pretty sure it was 413 or something like that. And then deadlift, I did end up breaking another world record. It was what was it? 462 and a half, which is roughly 210 kilos. And then the total record was 1,151, so like 522 and a half kilos.
Oh, okay. Right on, man.
Yeah,
So
so
you were mentioning like nationals and all that. So what's is nationals just meaning like you're going to the States, or is that like a national thing? Everybody from different countries?
yeah, it was from people all over the world.
Okay.
There were people from the organization that I was competing was the WPC, the World Power. There's people from they have records holding from Japan, China, like Russia, all over Europe, the States, obviously, and then people from Canada.
Oh, okay. Right on. Um, yeah, so when we're talking about those like when those competitions, so is there like any weight classes? How does that all work out?
Yep. So there's a whole bunch of weight classes. The weight class that I compete in is the 75 kilogram class.
Okay.
So the weight classes it differs from. So if you're at the 75 kilogram weight class, you would have to drop down, which is sorry, that's 165.
Okay.
Um, the next weight class down would be 148 pounds. So if you're anywhere between that, you're automatically put into the 75 kilogram.
Okay. Now, what's with like the like it seems like really off numbers like you said like 148 pounds, 100 like what why wouldn't they just go with like even or odd numbers like that?
I I'm not 100% sure. I know well mainly it's just because of the kilos, but it's just converting to what we are used to.
Okay.
It just doesn't make too much sense to me. But but for some federations, I'm sure they'd be a lot more considerate.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that just kind of I always wondered that, but um yeah, so you kind of talked about you did a competition in Chicago, was that
Yeah,
again?
Chicago.
Chicago. So is that the farthest you've ever gone?
Yeah, for me that's the farthest I've ever gone.
Okay. Is that like the biggest competition you've done?
Definitely biggest competition I've ever done. There was a
Okay.
whole bunch of people there, man. People that were just massive, man.
Does the huge crowd does that kind of make you nervous? How do you deal with that?
Um, well, I mean, when you walk into a huge place and you see all these people, yeah, you're gonna feel nervous. But for me, I feel like it's these people are watching me. I better get this lift. So all the adrenaline's pumping, and for me, I compete a lot better when I have more people watching me than what I
Okay.
would. You feel like you feel like you basically just need to do it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah, like
you don't want the disappointment.
yeah, like for me, like the only way I can really relate to that is like if I'm working out and it's like if I have people watching me, I feel like like I feel like I have to get it because like especially on bench pressing, like
Exactly.
I'll have people,
Exactly.
I'll guys like that are like watching me or I have buddies that are like kind of watch me or we're shooting the shit and it's like it's like I want to get it because I don't want to be embarrassed if I don't get it. Like
Oh
as much
goodness.
as I don't really care what people think, but when people are watching, it's like yeah, you feel like you want to get it. So I kind of see what you're trying to say there for sure.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, like at this the recent one, they had a like their announcer announcing the whole time saying what you're doing in the bench, what oh it's going down. So that's just building it just builds up a whole bunch of just like I was saying, just a whole bunch of adrenaline and just gets you pumping.
Right, right. Yeah, and with those kind of competitions, there's people that I know locally that have kind of done those kind of things, and I'll see them like I'll see like videos or pictures that of them like preparing for the competitions, and there's this like kind of clothing that they wear. It almost like a one piece, like it's like kind of looks like shorts, but like kind of like not
The
a shirt,
closest thing,
but
yeah,
I'm
the
sorry.
closest thing I could put it to is like a wrestling singlet.
Yeah, like a wrestling singlet. So like what like why is it that you guys wear that? What's that all for?
Well, first of all, you don't want to be considered a cheater, so it's gonna show from just about the top or the mid quad area, so like just above the knee is what you want to see, because you could have some people in the past have used like wraps or whatever underneath of their singlet, and they would consider it cheating if it's raw. So you don't want to have anything stuffed in there, and they just want to make sure it's 100% raw. But then on the other case, in the other case, there's a different divisions also. Like you can have a single ply singlet, which is the
Okay.
thinnest you could possibly get. It's just as thin as this.
Oh, okay. So like so that's pretty much why they do it, or is that kind of also part of the whole sport as well?
Well, like in the '90s and whatnot, they would wear like a way heavier singlet than what I would be wearing,
Right.
just because it's yeah. So there's equipped lifting and then there's raw lifting. So equipped lifting would be like a bench shirt. It's basically like they used to put. It's basically a denim jacket is what they used to wear, and they
Oh,
just put
really?
it. Yeah, and it's so stressful going down that once it hits the chest, you have so much pop out of it. It's basically already up. Lock it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I always wondered that. I could have always asked people, but I don't know. I didn't want to be like weird and be like, "Well, why are you wearing that?" You know. But yeah, so yeah, so when you're training for like these events and stuff like that, what do you do prepare for that besides the obvious?
Well, I mean, obviously, your nutrition has to be on point. You can't,
Right.
you can't cheat. You can't go out to your McDonald's every day and do what everybody else is trying to do, like buy a Big Mac. You can't do that, or else it'll throw everything off. So when I walk around, I'm usually weighing about 175, 170 ish, and my
Okay.
weight class category is at 165. So usually you're gonna start your program or a program. I like to do a 12-week program, 8 to 12 week program, it's usually just called a peaking program. It'll start you off light, heavy, and then gradually go up so that your muscles are at their max performance once you have your deload week, which is basically doing nothing for a whole week until your competition.
Okay. Now, why do you do that?
So when you're at your competition, because when you have to max out, as what people would say, when you're maxing out, you don't want to just hop right into it, kind of thing. Like you don't want to not prepare yourself. You don't want to not prepare your body to do the absolute most. So when you're talking about peaking at its max performance, it's what would you call it? Um, just making sure that your body's 100% to do the absolute most it can do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
So like it kind of so that week kind of gives you that time to, in a way, be kind of rested for that.
Yes, 100%. There it
Okay.
is. That puts
Okay.
it in easier terms there.
Okay. That makes sense. Um, so like as you were kind of saying, like so physical appearance does kind of it does play a factor in everything, right? Because you have to kind of make your weight class, right? Um,
Yeah.
but because the thing is, and it could just be because they're in the heavier weight classes, but I found like a lot of guys I've seen in doing powerlifting, they're not trying to call out as it is, but they're not in the greatest shape as you would
Yeah.
say.
No,
So
no,
like,
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
yeah,
Like
so
for instance, myself personally, I'm short. I'm 5'4", 5'3", 5'4",
right,
but I also like at the moment I'm like 175, 180 pounds.
Right.
But usually someone like that would be 140, one maybe getting into their 150s. But yeah, your body shape also does play a role in it, definitely.
S- So like not necessarily do like so if you're at a certain height and you're able to just have a particular weight to you, then sometimes like I know you said dieting does play a factor because it does help with with muscle and your strength and everything and
Yeah.
power. But is there some people that you find they don't have to they just have to really just worry about, yeah, I just got to eat good, and if I'm not in the best shape, so you don't necessarily have to be like, and you don't have to be necessarily in shape to, as long
Yeah,
as
I
you're making the
get what you're
weight in
saying.
the way and you have your strength. I guess that's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to get
I
to.
definitely know a couple people that they can eat whatever they want and they can just go out there and still lift as much as I'm lifting. Some people are just genetically gifted like that, and it's it's definitely a sight to see.
Yeah, like I know if you watch a documentary, it's called The DNA of GSP, and he talks about how like his whole career, he besides hit when you get ready for fights, he'd eat McDonald's, he eat like fast food like every day, and never like you look at him, you would never know. And he just said it was all genetics, and
Literally, GSP is definitely my favorite fighter. One of the
yeah,
greatest of
he
all time, definitely.
yeah, same with me. He's and it's crazy how some people can just eat whatever they want and they can still excel at whatever they're doing, and it blows my mind. Like for me,
Exactly. But
like I've had to work so hard to get to where I am for like all my lifts. Like it took me well, for the squatting, not so much because I'm naturally gifted with the legs. Like I just have good leg muscles. I always have. I've always been strong there. Um, but like with squats, like I think my max before everything kind of happened was like 365, and but I think I started out. I never knew how to do squats for the longest time. My buddy's like, "Oh, you got to try it. It's good for you. Do some squats." I never wanted to do it because I just didn't know how to do it. But then like a month, I went up in like 100 pounds in weight, like no problem.
oh,
And
100%, 100%. I had the same thing happen to me. Like when I first started, I was only sitting around 285, like 275 ish. After
yeah,
like a month and a half, 2 months of working it, and I was already at like mid 300s going up. And
yeah.
I don't know, I like seeing that kind of stuff. They call it your new gains, but eh, it's still good for a confidence boost, definitely.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, like that for me, like I got up to like for me, I don't think I could ever be a power lifter, but I respect it because I know that good feeling when you get to that certain weight or you're doing more weight than you thought you ever could, and you just wonder like, am I sure my form's just not right and I'm just getting lucky, or no, it's like it's crazy how much you can do with your body. Um, and that's why for me like lifts I'm is one thing that I'm really looking forward to getting back to the gym, because that's where like because I would incorporate them. Like I wouldn't necessarily do like a lift day. So a lot of my days I do push, pull, and then some days I just do like whatever I wanted. Like I do like push, pull, and um and then just like leg day basically, and then incorporate like arms whatever day. So a lot of times like if I was doing leg day, I do my squats, and I start off with that because I knew if I'm gonna be tired anywhere, it's gonna be in my squats. I want to make sure they're 100%. Um, and then obviously like my deadlifts would go in with like the pull day. So like I start off with that, make sure I get a really good pump in my lower back, and then do everything else. Um, so I really miss that. I don't know about you, but I definitely miss it. I can't wait.
Yeah, like well when I train, it's based for those lifts. So everything that I'm gonna do accessory wise, as in like the stuff that's not my big three, like my bench, my squat, my deadlift. So if I'm benching, my accessories are gonna be for improvement on my bench. So it may not be your chest, like your regular chest flies or dumbbell flies. It's whatever you want to call it. It may
Yeah.
not be like your cable flies. It's more like I'm gonna be doing barbell floor press so that I can extend my tricep and max it out to what it needs to be so that I
Right.
can improve on my lockout when I'm benching.
Right. So you're doing things that will help. Like that's why a lot of people do bench pressing and triceps, right? Like because
Oh,
it kind of
100%.
incorporates in together. So I guess like what you're trying to say is you're using certain workouts to improve those things that you need to do for your powerlifting.
Exactly.
Okay, that
Exactly.
makes sense. Yeah, no, that would make a lot of sense. For me, not so much, but um, definitely for sure. When you mentioned the whole tricep situation, that's something I've been working on when I do arms, and ever since then, I've been noticing my strength really coming in the chest. Obviously, you're not using just your triceps, but I definitely see like when trying to get those last reps in, I'm starting to see that um, like I'm able to get a couple more reps in, which is helping for sure.
Definitely.
Definitely bench press is not my favorite. It never has been. But yeah,
Yeah,
you
but
gotta do everything.
yeah, yeah, bench press is probably the most. I mean, for body wise, you have to use the whole thing. You got to use every single thing to
Absolutely.
your advantage. Like from your setup, you want to be put up once you sit on the bench, especially when you're going for your heaviest lifts. Your traps, you want to be put up on your traps, putting your shoulders act as if you're putting them together all the way at the back, all the way
Hmm.
from the elbows, bending your elbows in, bending that wrist, really squeezing with your pinkies on the bar. It's yeah, everything from that to when you're using your heels on the floor, you really want to place your heels straight down into the ground, act as if you're driving through all the way from your quads to your hamstrings, lower back into your traps, and pushing out with your lats.
I did not know that. I mean, some of it I
Yeah,
knew, but like, yeah, some of that I wouldn't even know. And I think like even things that I've learned, it's so easy to forget to do this thing. You just say, okay, I'm gonna go hop on the bench and lift up, arch my back, and that's all I need to do. Um,
exactly, exactly. And that's what people don't understand that you can lift like if somebody was they're maxing bench and they hit 135, but they have a really flat back, their arms are all the way out here. They're not they're not using their whole body. If they simply just move their elbows more in towards their lats and tightened up their back, they could probably hit like 155, closer 185. Just
hmm
getting form down and using your whole body to what it needs to be, then it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. That's exactly what it is right there. And then obviously, if you're trying to get into shape, like you're trying to build muscle, obviously that's got to help, incorporate as well for sure. But yeah. So are you going to? Is this something like powerlifting? Is that something you're going to continue to pursue in life, or is it something that you want to do temporarily and then maybe come back to later? How do you feel about it?
Um, for me, I want to do powerlifting for the rest of my life, for as long as I can, anyways. I
Okay.
just I want to see how far I can get, how big my maxes can get, how big my total can get, how far I can go into the powerlifting community, especially because I definitely do want to be out there when it comes to all that stuff. But
Hmm.
even though I may not be the greatest powerlifter of all time, but I want to be a personal trainer is what I'm going for. So
Okay.
I just want to help people succeed and see what they like how much potential people have that they don't think they have.
So is that like personal training? Is that something you're going to school for, or what are you?
Yeah, yep. So I'm
Okay,
going for the fitness and health promotion. So
nice.
yeah, so I'm gonna go for personal training and try just learning about all the best stuff that I can do to help other people out.
Okay. Is there I guess you wanted to go for coaching. Have you ever met any like people like famous powerlifters or just bodybuilders that you look up to?
Um, on it, I've met a couple of extremely great powerlifters. None I know personally, obviously, but
Hmm.
people I look up to, like the Ed Cones,
Yeah.
Sean, like obviously Sean Brown. I look up to him like greatly. Like even back in the day when my uncle would talk about working out, I look up to him. Obviously wanting to be better, to be what would you say, like to lift more than what he could do, because it's just something that we do. I don't know.
Right on. Right on. Yeah, I mean, like, I had my coach on the podcast maybe like 3 weeks ago, maybe more than that now, and he was mentioning, I was like, yeah, we got to meet Arnold at the, I think it was like the Arnold
Insane, man.
Expo or whatever they call it, and he's like, yeah, so and so got to shake his hand. I'm like, that's freaking awesome. I mean, I know
Yeah.
he like we're talking more about bodybuilding, but same
Okay.
kind of genre
Like,
here.
well, I mean, if we're talking about absolute motivation, for me, it's Ronnie Coleman. Who doesn't
Oh
want to be like
God,
Ronnie? Just lightweight baby, just start screaming, go for it.
Ronnie Coleman, is he still alive?
Oh, God. Yeah, he's alive. He doesn't look like it. He's definitely hurting, that's for sure. That
Yeah,
he put his body through so much pain, but in the end, like even he would say he'd go back and do the exact same thing again.
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. I think I'm thinking of the. I'm not sure if I'm thinking of the same guy. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if it's Ronnie Coleman. I can't. I have a picture of the guy in my mind. I just don't know if it's the same guy I'm thinking of. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast a while back, but I don't think it was Ronnie Coleman. Yeah, I don't
Um,
know.
I know. I was watching one of the Joe Rogan podcasts. He had Dorian Yates. I know for sure.
That could have been it. I don't know. It was some black guy on there. Not to be racist, but like that's the only way I can really describe him. But he was talking about his steroid usage and
C.T. Fletcher, maybe.
yeah.
C.T.
Yeah. CT
Fletcher. Oh
Fletcher.
my
Yeah.
goodness, he's amazing. I love C.T. Fletcher.
Yeah, as much as he used steroids, but I mean, he wasn't the only one. So do you really
No,
kind of
but if you're going to abuse something like that, I'm very glad that somebody like CT Fletcher comes out and says, "Hey, this can happen. Like stuff can happen that
yeah.
you don't hear about." You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's certainly it's good that he does that because I mean, the thing I don't like is when people do it and they don't admit it and they try to act like they kind of sweep it on the rug like, no, I don't do that shit. And it's
Oh,
like, but
definitely.
I don't know. I don't think that's right. I mean, you should be pretty honest about it. And I mean, if you're willing to use it, why are you ashamed to admit it?
I,
Um, I don't think it's a terribly bad thing. Do I think that people should be using it in sports? No. I mean, especially when you're competing against other people, I don't think that's right. But I mean, bodybuilders, at the end of the day, I mean, no matter what you're doing, whether it's bodybuilding, powerlifting, you still have to put that work in.
oh
You
no,
can't
like
just,
if you take steroids and sit on the couch, you're not doing anything for your body. You're just killing yourself basically.
yeah, you
You're
might as well, you're everything's gonna shrink, and things aren't gonna be working properly, unfortunately, and you're not gonna gain anything out of it. So yeah, I mean, you certainly still got to work hard and put the work in, but.
most definitely like 5 6 days a week. There's no rest, no rest.
Absolutely. Kind of talking about training here. Have you ever had any injuries?
Um, nothing serious. Definitely nothing serious. I've had, I think I pulled my calf, and that was about it. Honestly,
So you've
other than
been
that,
pretty.
just stress on, like, obviously stress on your elbows, stress on your knees, stress on your
Yeah.
hips, which you stretch and do all the things you can to do the to help out. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't think I've ever had any serious injuries. The only thing I've really done, and I kind of did it again, just this summer. But the summer before that, I was deadlifting, and I just got the form wrong, and I pulled right with my back, just pulled straight up,
ooh,
and I pulled one of the vertebrae on my tailbone, and
oof,
I just
Jesus,
dropped the weight so quick. And like, there was
yeah,
this
no,
guy. He was doing squats right behind me, and I could never see a guy move up like run up to me so quick. He knew exactly what happened because I think he was playing on his phone. He was kind of looking at because there was like a huge mirror, and I was right in front of the mirror, so he was kind of watching what I was doing, and I dropped it, and he knew exactly what happened. He goes up and he says, "You pulled right with your back, didn't you?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm like. Yeah, it didn't feel too good.
yeah,
Like
definitely
shooting pains
having
going
people
down my
that looks,
legs. It sucked. But
yeah, most definitely, yeah. I've seen people that are it's it's kind of ridiculous how people don't think they have to get their form down. Like, yes, you do have to pull. You're gonna go red face. You're gonna have veins popping out of your neck, but having for the most part, your back straight. You can have a rounded back when you deadlift. Like, it's not gonna hurt you that much. It's not gonna affect you that much. But having your arms completely locked out, having that tricep, your forearms, all your out, like having your arms straight, your shoulders back, bending with your legs, definitely. Like having that stuff, and then on top of that, especially when you're lifting heavy, for especially for new people that don't know, having a weightlifting belt will help for that.
oh, 100%. You gotta wear a belt. I mean,
100%.
I I have always felt comfortable wearing a belt. Like anytime I put the belt on, someone's like, "Hey, let's do this much weight." I'm like, "No problem." Um, as long as I got that belt, I don't feel uncomfortable. And there's been times where I've forgotten it, and I'm like, "Well, looks like we're just doing little boy weights tonight." So,
Yeah,
but
the only thing about getting, for me, is getting too used to a belt. You don't want to use a belt for everything, or else you're not gonna want to put in more work than what you already were doing.
hmm
Like, say if you can squat 300 pounds with a belt,
yeah.
with your knee sleeves or whatever. But if you can do that without a belt, think about what you could do with a belt. Like putting in that extra work, putting like having your uh the extra weight on your back without a belt, it's gonna make your progression go up so much faster.
Oh yeah, I'm certain of it for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, as of right now, I'm not even gonna worry about that right now. I'm just worrying about getting back to where I'm at.
One
Like
one
at
percent.
first I don't know, like I was kind of talking to people when and I say, oh, when the gyms open up, I'm just gonna crush the first week, gonna make my leg day like the last day. So, I already have everything put out, but I really don't think it's gonna go that way. I think it's gonna be like I'm gonna do like my first set of like true lifts, and I'm gonna be exhausted after like the first two sets. I'll
Time
be
to
like,
go. It's time to go
yeah,
home.
I'm gonna be like, oh fuck this shit, I want to go home. Excuse me, I want to go
Um,
home, but
yeah, every
yeah.
every time I'm at the gym, it's always, uh, definitely don't take anything for granted for me anyways. I'm there from first set to the last set. Everything's gotta be in place.
Exactly. Um, yeah. So, yeah. Do you have any other interests, hobbies?
Um, honestly, I mean, like, golfing and fishing don't really exceed my expectations to what I wanted them to be, but can't always can't always fish forever.
Yeah. Right. 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 Are you? Have you been doing any fishing during the summer? Since I mean, everything's kind of closed
Honestly,
down.
I've been working like crazy, so I haven't been doing
Yeah.
too much. I went out golfing last, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago now, 2 or 3 weeks ago. But
Okay.
other than that, it's been nothing.
Yeah, it's been hot. So yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. So you're. I guess this is kind of like your last question for. I know you gotta go to work.
Yeah, for
Um.
sure.
So your thoughts on powerlifting versus regular workouts, which is better?
Um, for regular workouts, like at all heavy is what. If you're going at all
Yeah.
heavy,
Okay. So like, let's say like you're doing just powerlifting. Like, okay, say if you're doing straight, just I'm doing all I do is bench pressing, squats, and deadlifts, and that's all I do, just full body workouts.
okay.
Versus someone who's um, doing that, but they're incorporating it with, so they're making sure that they're doing arm day, they're getting their legs in, like they're isolating certain muscles, like they're more going for the toning, like shaping their body versus the strength.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Um, in my opinion, always lifting heavy is always good. It's always gonna. It's There's no doubt about it. Like lifting heavy is gonna give you more muscle, 100%, all the time, every single time.
Absolutely.
Just making sure you have your form down and whatnot. But yeah, I do agree. Regular workouts, like after your first when you start with your bench press, and then you go into your chest flies and you go into all that. Nothing wrong with that. If anybody's doing that, I'd 100% do that.
Hmm. Okay.
100%. So
Yeah.
yeah, like that's usually what I would do as well though. But like I would go from my bench to my bench accessories, and then I would have like two or three tricep workouts, or two or three even forearm workouts. Getting those Popeye forearms is basically what my goal is.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, like for me, if I would ask myself that, I think for sure. I noticed I got stronger the more lifting I was doing. Not that I never really neglected it by any means, um, but I definitely wasn't doing as much as I should have. And I just found that when I was doing a lot more, especially the squatting, I found I got a lot more exhausted from squatting. Um, but yeah, even deadlifts and everything. I found if you're incorporating it, okay, so let's say you take your okay, say for your workout, you're putting a lot of your workout into lifting. I think that's good because I mean, for one thing, depending on what your goal is, if you're just looking to get into shape, just getting into shape, that's good. I mean, you access so much energy into that,
Yeah, no,
and
definitely.
that and you're gonna burn a lot of calories just doing that. And then say if you want to get your cardio in, yeah, you're gonna get a good, decent workout just doing that. Um, Especially as long as you're not half-assing it, right? Like you're putting all in into those workouts, and then you're still doing, like, say if you're doing leg day and you start off with squats and you do, like, say you do a couple light and then you do whatever you can, then you go a little bit heavy. You do that, for 45 minutes to an hour, then you do your actual all your isolated leg muscles. I mean, that's a great workout. And then plus
Yeah,
cardio after that, I mean, you're dead. And that's
yeah, no,
exactly what you
definitely, no,
want.
definitely.
And
I
do that
100%
over
agree with you.
time, you're gonna build your muscle that way. So I agree with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So like even for me, so I'm gonna sit there and stretch. It's gonna take me like almost half an hour, maybe 40 minutes just to sit there and stretch.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to do like my squats, and my rest between squats, 5, maybe 10 minutes at the most. Then I'm going to my next set and warming up until I actually get to what my top set needs to be and my starting sets for the workout. So it could take an hour, hour and a half. And then yeah, I'm putting in the work to go and do my leg extensions, my hamstring curls. And then on top of that, I'm doing, even if I wanted to do cardio like something like basketball, going for a jog or something like that. You're still
Mhm.
putting always put in the work to back everything else up.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, always.
100%. Yeah, so I think after this I'm gonna have to put a poll on my Instagram to see what everyone else thinks about that. But Mitch, I know you got to go to work, so I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your experiences with powerlifting and the whole fitness world. And hopefully, once the gyms open up, you can get back to it and see more from you.
Yeah, honestly, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Eh?
No problem, Mitch. You take care, man.